Okay, so a single explosive claim out of Iran just sent shockwaves around the world. It sparked this huge mystery right in the middle of a major conflict. Today, we're going to break down exactly what happened, and more importantly, why it matters. Let's get right into it. So this was the question that was suddenly everywhere, all over the news, all over social media. Where is Benjamin Netanyahu? Right as tensions are escalating, this alarming claim from Iran drops, and suddenly, nobody's sure what's going on. That's the mystery we're unpacking right now. All right, so where did all this chaos come from? Well, it all kicked off with a really startling claim from Iran. And this wasn't just any claim. It was specifically designed to look like a massive strategic win for them. Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps, you'll hear them called the IRGC, they came out and said they'd pulled off a successful missile strike. But here's the kicker. They weren't just aiming at some random military base. No, they claimed their missiles slammed into high-value Israeli targets, including, and this is the big one, the office of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. And it gets even more interesting when you look at the weapon they said they used. It's called the Khaibar Shakan. Now, this is a class of long-distance ballistic missile that Iran has been bragging about for a while. They claim it can slice right through advanced air defenses, stuff like the Iron Dome. So just mentioning this missile was a power move, a way for them to say, look what we can do. But, in a situation like this, there are always two sides to the story. And almost as fast as Iran made its claim, a completely different narrative started coming out of Israel. So let's take a look at their official response. So here you have it, laid out side by side. Iran is claiming a direct hit. They're saying they struck Netanyahu's office. Israel's response? They're calling it unfounded misinformation. Total nonsense. They insist there's zero credible evidence to support Iran's story and that the prime minister is perfectly safe and active. I mean, you can't get more opposite than that. So what do you do when rumors are swirling about your safety? Well, Israel decided to fight back in the most direct way possible. Netanyahu himself appeared in a televised address to the nation. This was huge because it was the first time anyone had seen him publicly since Iran's announcement. It was a clear, visual message. I'm here, I'm fine, and I'm in charge. And during that speech, he said something that really caught people's attention. Something about seeking a defined operational objective. Now, on the surface, that's about war strategy. But analysts look deeper. They saw it as a really carefully worded message. It was meant to calm everyone down, project stability, and basically tell the whole world that Israel's leadership was still steady at the wheel. Okay, so this brings us to a really fascinating and, frankly, confusing point. How on earth can you have two completely opposite official stories coexisting like this? The answer is something that military strategists have talked about for centuries, the fog of war. I mean, it's pretty bewildering, isn't it? You hear one thing from a government and the exact opposite from another. It makes you wonder what's real. And that's the point. In a modern conflict, the information space, well, it's its own battlefield. And getting a clear picture is incredibly tough. Why? Well, for one, you've got propaganda all tangled up with actual facts. Then there's the sheer speed of it all, claims and counterclaims flying back and forth. You don't have neutral, third-party observers just hanging around to verify things. And analyzing satellite photos, that takes time. Meanwhile, both sides are using information as a tactic, a weapon, to shape how you see the conflict. All right, so let's cut through all that noise. When you look at the hard, verifiable evidence, what do we actually know right now? The bottom line is pretty straightforward. To date, there is absolutely no verified, independent evidence that backs up Iran's claim. None. So what can we confirm? Let's tick through the facts. Fact 1. Benjamin Netanyahu is alive, and he is still serving as prime minister. Fact 2. He made that public broadcast after Iran made its claim. Fact 3. No independent source has confirmed any damage to his office or his residences. And finally, the Israeli government has been completely consistent in denying any hits. These are the facts on the ground. Okay, so it seems like the central mystery is solved, right? But the story doesn't end there. Why does one incident like this back and forth of claims, matter so much in the grand scheme of things? Because the ripple effect is huge. Think about it. An event like this can ratchet up tensions and increase the chances of a much bigger conflict. It puts a ton of pressure on international diplomacy. It can send shockwaves through the global economy, messing with oil prices and shipping routes. And, maybe most importantly, it's a perfect example of how the war of words, the information battlefield, is just as critical as what's happening on the ground.
And all of this leaves us with one last big question to think about. You know that old saying, the first casualty of war is truth? Well, in our world of 24/7 news and social media, maybe we need to update that. Maybe information isn't just a casualty anymore. Maybe it's the very first weapon that gets deployed. What do you think?